Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. For the longest time, medical science has basically looked at the heart through a purely mechanical lens, right? Just a biological pump pushing fluid through a closed system. But quantum biophysics is now suggesting something absolutely mind-bending. We're talking about a massive paradigm shift here, moving away from that old mechanical pump model and starting to understand the heart as a literal quantum powerhouse. So today, we're unpacking the source material behind the heart-based resonant field theory. It's an incredible framework that completely redefines what cardiovascular health and cardiovascular failure actually means.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll be moving from the classical mechanical pump model to macroscopic coherence, then on to biophotons, toxins, emotional coherence, and finally wrapping up with integrative frequency medicine. Let's get to it.
Section 1. Beyond the mechanical pump, the classical view of congestive heart failure.
So, for decades, we've viewed congestive heart failure as, well, purely a plumbing issue. The classical view focuses heavily on coronary artery disease, where oxidized LDL cholesterol creates physical blockages, or valvular regurgitation, where the actual valves just fail to close properly. That resulting volume and pressure overload forces the heart to remodel, and that leads to the fatigue, the edema, the depressed ejection fraction we all know. But high-contrast quantum biophysics reveals a whole different dimension. This quantum view argues that before any of that structural plumbing actually breaks down, there's a profound loss of energetic resonance and biophysical harmony. It's a complete game changer.
Section 2. Macroscopic Coherence and Quantum Energy, the Heart's Electromagnetic Field. What's truly fascinating here is how this completely redefines what the heart actually does. Dr. Abdul Abdelgader's heart-based resonant field theory, or HBRF, posits that the heart isn't just a pump, it's an energetic orchestrator. It acts as a macroscopic coherence generator. Basically, this means the heart is using its own electromagnetic field to create phase-aligned structures, facilitating low-entropy information transfer throughout the entire body. It synchronizes everything, from our neural firing patterns to our autonomic nervous system, keeping this vast biological network of ours in perfect tune.
Just to give you an idea of the sheer power we're talking about here, the heart's massive electromagnetic field is up to 100 times stronger than the brain's. 100 times! It's so strong you can actually measure it several feet away from the physical body. This immense field acts like a master conductor, entraining systemic cellular communication and even resonating with massive global electromagnetic structures like the Earth's Schumann resonances. But you kind of have to wonder, how does the heart generate the staggering amount of energy needed to sustain that massive field and pump blood 24/7? Well, deep inside our cells, the heart survives by tapping into mitochondrial electron tunneling. This is a highly efficient quantum mechanism where electrons literally pass through energy barriers that would be completely impenetrable according to classical physics. It's like walking right through a solid wall. This tunneling maximizes ATP energy production, which is exactly how the heart maintains its incredible metabolic efficiency. To really wrap your head around the scale of this biological miracle, get this. An astonishing 20.8 times 10 to the 25th power electrons pass through your mitochondrial transport chains every single 24 hours just to generate your cardiac energy. That is a number so big it's almost hard to fathom. And if this delicate quantum tunneling gets disrupted, say by oxidative stress or inflammation, the heart experiences metabolic failure, and that is the critical precursor to physical heart failure. Section 3. Biophotons and cellular communication, the light network inside us.
So with such a massive energetic output and literally billions of reactions happening every single second, we have to ask the obvious question. How do our cells actually communicate fast enough to stay in perfect coherent sync? Because classical chemical messengers, they are just way too slow to handle the instantaneous coordination a healthy human body needs.
The answer, according to the research, is biophotons. These are ultra-weak, laser-like light emissions that primarily come from our DNA. Together, they form a dynamic, instantaneous, body-wide optical communication network. The theory suggests that the heart's powerful electromagnetic field actually entrains these biophotonic signals, literally stabilizing cellular communication throughout your entire body. Which brings us to this absolutely fascinating concept from quantum biologist Bruce Lipton. He explains that the cell membrane basically functions as a brain, where the environment, which completely includes these vibrational and electromagnetic signals we're talking about, literally controls cellular behavior and genetic expression. So our cells are constantly listening to and reacting to the invisible frequencies all around them.
Section 4. Toxins and Energetic Disruptors, Collapsing the Coherence.
Now here is where things get tricky, because specific environmental toxins can directly disrupt these delicate cardiac bioenergetics. Heavy metals like lead and cadmium, they cause oxidative stress that totally ruins that amazing mitochondrial electron tunneling we just talked about. And synthetic plasticizers, like the phthalates found in everyday plastics, they actually activate inflammatory pathways that trigger cardiomyocyte pyroptosis, basically inflammatory cell death. Throw in air pollutants and those notorious PFAS forever chemicals, and you severely impair heart-based electromagnetic coherence, completely setting the stage for structural disease.
But it's not just physical toxins. Let's look at psychological stress and how it builds a deeply damaging psychosomatic chain reaction. First, chronic stress activates the amygdala in your brain. That triggers autonomic dysregulation, which you can actually measure as a drop in your heart rate variability, or HRV. Then, this nervous system imbalance causes systemic inflammation to spike, which shows up as elevated C-reactive protein. Ultimately, this inflammatory cascade makes any existing atherosclerotic plaque highly vulnerable to rupture. Boom, a cardiac event. It's a very clear, direct line from emotional distress to physical blockage.
Section 5. The power of emotional coherence, restoring internal harmony.
Fortunately, we can actually fix this. The HeartMath Institute has done tons of research into a state called cardiac coherence. This is a physiological state where, by doing things like sustaining positive emotions or doing targeted deep breathing, your heart rate variability trace literally shifts into a smooth, highly ordered sine wave pattern. And this isn't just some nice metaphor for feeling relaxed. It physically synchronizes the two branches of your autonomic nervous system, drops you right into a parasympathetic healing state, and sends incredibly stable signals to the brain that actually enhance your higher cognitive functions.
And this internal coherence actively mitigates the physiological wear and tear of all that chronic stress. Research published in Health and Society really highlights this. Engaging with these specific frequency and vibrational states can modulate inflammation, boost your cellular ATP availability, and really foster systemic balance. When you consciously create positive emotional states, you aren't just boosting your mood, you are literally generating internal physical harmony at the electromagnetic level.
Section 6. Integrative Frequency Medicine. Clinical Tools for Bioresonance. Because of all this, cutting-edge practitioners are increasingly turning to quantum bioresonance technologies like the 9-dimensional nonlinear system, or 9D NLS. This tech actually reads the electromagnetic oscillations emitted by your cells and chromosomes, and it spots imbalances by comparing them against healthy reference frequencies. But it goes way beyond just diagnosing. It uses something called metatherapy. This is a therapeutic feature that actively sends corrective, healing frequencies right back into the tissues, working to restore cellular resonance way before those functional imbalances can progress into actual structural disease. When we look at how these integrative tools work together, it's just so comprehensive. You've got the 9D NLS system scanning cellular oscillations to pinpoint hidden stressors, like pathogens or toxins. Then you have metatherapy swooping in, delivering those exact corrective frequencies to rebalance the biofield. And alongside that, you have HRV biofeedback constantly measuring beat-to-beat variations to help patients consciously shift their own autonomic balance. It is a brilliant, truly 360-degree approach to electromagnetic wellness.
And the best part? By combining these frequency therapies with natural detoxification and targeted nutrition, patients get an incredibly powerful wellness resource to proactively prevent cardiac decline. For example, the source material points out that a Mediterranean diet is linked to a massive 70% risk reduction against heart failure, and the DASH diet significantly lowers mortality even in existing cases. When you integrate these plant-based, detoxifying diets with emotional coherence techniques and bioresonance therapy, you are literally building a proactive shield for cardiovascular longevity.
Ultimately, the heart-based resonant field theory challenges us to totally rethink our entire biological existence. It reveals that our heart is the true nexus of our physical resilience and our conscious experience. It suggests that consciousness isn't just some biological computation happening up in the brain. No, it's a resonant synthesis. It's a continuous dynamic communication orchestrated by the highly coherent field generated by your very own beating heart. Which leaves us with a pretty critical question for your own health and daily awareness. Think about it. If your heart is indeed a quantum conductor, keeping billions of cells phase-aligned and maintaining the very coherence of your body's symphony, what frequencies are you tuning it to today? Are you tuning into the static of stress and environmental toxicity, or are you tuning into the frequencies of emotional coherence and integrative healing? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning and keep thriving.